Suicide, satiation, and stardom. Well guys, welcome back to my friendly neighborhood pond here. I was just thinking about the temptation of Jesus in the wilderness, and those three words kind of came to my mind, and so I just want to take a minute to read you the story and then just say a few things about that. So Luke chapter 4, it says, Jesus, full of the Holy Spirit, left the Jordan and was led by the Spirit into the wilderness, where for 40 days he was tempted by the devil. He ate nothing during those days, and at the end of them he was hungry. The devil said to him, "If you are the Son of God, tell this stone to become bread." Jesus answered, "It is written, man shall not live on bread alone." The devil led him up to a high place and showed him in an instant all the kingdoms of the world. And he said to him, "I will give you all their authority and splendor. It has been given to me, and I can give it to anyone I want to. If you worship me, it will all be yours." Jesus answered, "It is written, worship the Lord your God and serve him only." The devil led him to Jerusalem and had him stand on the highest point of the temple. "If you are the Son of God," he said, "throw yourself down from here, for it is written, he will command his angels concerning you to guard you carefully. They will lift you up in their hands so that you will not strike your foot against a stone." Jesus answered, "It is said, do not put the Lord your God to the test." When the devil had finished all this tempting, he left him until an opportune time. So yeah, I was just thinking about those three things. Why those three things? There's probably a lot of depth there that I'm not getting, but just kind of on a superficial level. Satiation, right? I mean, Jesus had been fasting for a long time, and the devil wanted him to eat. Is it a bad thing to eat? Well, you know, in our society, people don't know what it's like to fast or go without. I would say the average person, you know, here in Canada or pretty much anywhere in the Western world has probably never gone even a day without food in their entire life. I mean, I remember when I was in high school, we did a 30-hour famine. We didn't eat for 30 hours. It was I think some charity event or something like that. 30 hours. That's just nothing. It's a day, right? It's just a day of not eating. And I remember back then thinking like, man, 30 hours. And I felt like after I had done that, you know, I remember the school had like these huge subs. What are those, like massive, like to break the fast, to end the fast, they got these huge subs from Subway, those like giant ones. And we pigged out after. So it really wasn't much of an accomplishment to go 30 hours. But it's just, you know, it felt at that time like it was a huge thing. And it's because at that point in my life, I don't even know if I'd ever gone like half that amount of time without food. How about you? What's the longest you've ever fasted? You know, since then I've done a couple days here and there, maybe 3-4 days at the most here or there. But 40 days, can you think about that? 40 days. You know, we as a society, we're just fat. We need satiation. You know, we just want any kind of impulse or urge we get, we just want to eat. I mean, we as a society, we're just consumed with satiating ourselves. Even eating simple, actually just last night, someone dropped off food at my door. It was the wrong address. It was a $45 meal. I was thinking $45 for a single meal. That's crazy. I should have eaten it, but got in touch with the person and gave them their food. But so then I ate beans and rice, and I was thinking, I wonder how many people in our society just eat beans and rice for supper. They probably would think that's just a garbage meal, or like that's just not enough to satiate them. So yeah, our society's just kind of bent on satiation. We really don't know. For generations, we don't know what it's like to go without, or to go on, you know, to live on just a little bit of food and water. So yeah, that's just interesting how that's a piece that Satan uses for us. Guys, those vehicles are pretty loud over there, so I'll apologize for that. I'll be a good Canadian and apologize for that. But you know, the second thing I was thinking about is suicide. So you know, he takes him up to the temple, top of the temple, and says, you know, throw yourself down. You know, how many times has Satan tried to get people to do stupid things for you know, that's gonna harm them? Satan is bent on harming us, right? Like it says in the Gospel of John, you know, the thief comes to kill, steal, and destroy, right? The devil wants to destroy us. But very often, if he doesn't tempt us, if he doesn't like tempt us to destroy ourselves through suicide, I mean, that happens a lot, but I think another thing he does is maybe he wants to use us, take us to a point where we are tempting other people, or we're bringing other people down, right? So that's kind of where the third word that came in was stardom, like how Satan wanted to give Jesus the whole world, you know, all authority in the world. It's interesting, isn't it, that he says, it has all been given to me. You know, he's the God of the air, he's the God of this world, you know, the ruler of this world, you know, the darkness. Remember at the Passover, when after Jesus had finished eating the Passover meal, you know, they went out into the dark, and the darkness was coming. The ruler of this world, you know, how all the darkness was swirling around that moment, that few hours, right? The Passover, the crucifixion, the betrayal, you know, all of that, it's just dark. And they went out into the night, right? It was just so dark. But yeah, guys, stardom, like, people, you know, if you look around, this kind of what we see, those three kinds of people, right? There are people who are fat and just kind of focus on satiating themselves, or there are people who are committing suicide. There are so many people, you know, that give themselves, that kind of just do it, and everybody's just like, what? Oh, I didn't know he was so depressed, or I didn't know what got into him. He was doing so, I had no idea, right? Sometimes it just leaves people bewildered. Why did that person commit suicide? You know, but yeah, then stardom. You look around our society, there are stars, right? There are people who are really popular, really attractive, really wealthy, really good at stuff. They're you know, they have possessions, right? They've got a nice car. They've got everything is kind of just going great for their life. They have attention from other people, right? So yeah, it's just interesting that Satan uses those three things. So just keep that in mind. I was just thinking about that and how I need to keep that in mind. To fast, not be afraid of fasting, guys. Fasting is a wonderful, I mean, like I said, I've maybe done a couple days here, a couple days there, but really it hasn't been, it's, you know, your body gets weak, right? It's like, I need food. Your body's just crying out for some meat or just give me something, right? Yeah, to take really intentional, focused times of prayer and fasting. That's just so good. And to focus on, you know, the joy of the world, the light of the world. You know, he who walks in the light, you know, we won't walk in the darkness. We won't fall into the darkness. Some Canadian geese taking off there. And if we walk in the light, right, we don't, even if we get really depressed or we have suicidal thoughts or whatever, we can kind of cut through that because we're following the author of life. And we don't need to control, we don't need to worry about kind of, you know, kind of keeping control of our own fate. We give that up to Jesus. We say, you're the boss, you're our master, you're our Lord. It's not about me, it's not about my life, it's not about my story, it's not about my feelings. It's about the King, his story. We join his story. We work in his kingdom, and there's always stuff to do. There's never not things to do, right? So that's really good news, that we can work for the kingdom of life and light, even though we're depressed and maybe suicidal, right? Like, you know, so guys, just stay strong. Follow the Lord, the Master, who has a job for you. And, you know, we need to resist stardom. We need to resist, you know, if we get a whole bunch of likes on YouTube or Instagram or all these useless social media things, or we get popular, people like us, or we have a good job, or we have the ability to buy a house, build a bigger house, bigger barns, right? Remember, Jesus tells that parable of the guy who built bigger barns. He was trying to store up, you know, everything for himself. And there's actually, where is it? Is in the Minor Prophet, which one is it now, guys? I forget. Habakkuk, it says something like, woe to those, you know, who build their house on high, who set themselves kind of out of the reach of disaster. I think it says pretty much that, like, out, you know, you're kind of building your house, you got your nice car, you got your insurance policies, you got everything, like nothing can happen, right? You've so much just focused on your own safety and your own comfort, and you built your house, it's out of the reach of disaster, nothing can happen, right? And even if something does happen, you got everything covered. Well, that's great until people die, right? When you die, you're dead, right? What insurance policy is going to come to save you? It's funny, it's called life insurance. It's death insurance. It's not even, it's like this, you can't insure against loss. Ultimately, you lose everything. If you die, you lose your family, you lose your car, you lose your house, you lose everything. So you're not insuring your life. You're I mean, what it is you're just spending money in hopes that if you do die, your family might not starve, or your family will get $1 million or whatever. But the thing is, they can't hang on to their life either. Like, this is the nature, and that's the depressing nature of this world, is we die, there's death everywhere. You know, these plants will die, this water will get old and stale. Looks like it's already kind of stagnant there, a bunch of garbage in there and stuff like that. So, but our hope is in the one who will make all things new. So, you know, hey, I'm preaching to my big ears here. I've failed so many times in these areas, but I was just thinking about that, and it's good to kind of have something in your mind, so you can maybe think about it when it comes every day, on a daily basis, right? Am I being tempted with this, like, satiation? Am I being tempted with just suicidal thoughts, or like just to sink into depression, or just to sink into fatalism, you know? Or am I being tempted with stardom here? Is everything going well? Because if everything is going well, you know, those who have been given much is required, right? If you have a house, you have a car, boy, you have a lot, you have to do a lot. You can't just sit back and like watch movies all day. No, you have to do, if God has given you much, stardom, let's say, you have fame, you have a position of influence over other people, that has to be used for the glory of God. It cannot be just used for personal, you know, for selfish gain. I just finished memorizing a chunk of Psalm 119 where it says, turn my eyes away from worthless things, or what does it say before that? It says, turn my heart toward your statutes and not towards selfish gain. Right? Turn my eyes away from worthless things. Preserve my life according to your word. That's just beautiful words, right? These are the words of life, right? We want to turn our hearts toward, you know, toward God, toward his story, toward his name, his word, his gospel, his kingdom, his life, right? Our life is bound up in his life. And turn my heart toward your statutes and not towards selfish gain. Turn my eyes away from worthless things. Guys, join me today in trying to take my eyes away from worthless things. Don't watch the useless shows online. Don't watch the just all the garbage out there, right? Even like the news, eyes just transfixed on the news. I don't know, you know, let's try to together put our eyes, you know, keep our eyes on God, keep our eyes fixed on God. You know, there's a song that I remember when I was a kid. It says, it goes like, when the road, yeah, because like, when the road is rough and steep, what do? Fix your eyes upon Jesus. He alone has power to keep. What do? Fix your eyes upon him. Something like that. So we fix our eyes on Jesus, even though the road may be rough and steep, or even if it's not rough and steep, if everything's going great, we fix our eyes on the King and we wait for his return. So with that, guys, God bless you, and I'll bid farewell from here, from my friendly neighborhood pond. Have a great day.